a blockbuster deal, because look, man, when you talk about blockbuster deals, you can't be throwing that word around if the team is still now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, the best sports podcast there is, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. Hey, man, we got a great episode for you today on June 30th, 2022. The Atlanta Hawks done made some moves. They got DeJounte Murray along with Trae Young now. John Wall on the Clippers. And then also, too, man, it's Thursday, so you know we got to tap in with the listeners, hear the callers, hear what they said on a voicemail, and give a response. And we got a great prompt as well. So the question of the day, also, just to jump straight into the callers, man, is it ethical to hold student athletes back in school for an athletic advantage? And now you can call, leave your voicemail. It doesn't have to be on this question at any time. You can always talk about anything else if you want to. But 219-413-9405. Let's see what we got for the first one. Let's do it.
What's good, man? It's your boy Boots again.
Boots, what's the deal?
Man, I'm going to just let you know, man, I think the Atlanta Hawks, that trade with DeJounte, man, I think that was the boringest move of the offseason. It was probably the weakest at that, too.
Yes.
I don't think they got any better, but then again, I don't think they got any worse. What's your take on this, man?
Yes. Boots, look, man, hey, I could not agree more with you. I could not agree more. I 100% agree. I 100% agree. It's as simple as that. Because look, bro, they didn't get any better. They didn't get any worse. And they're still in that rough tier 2 type of bracket, meaning tier 1 is the best and tier 3 is the worst. They're still in that same bracket of not being a championship contender and possibly still getting put out second round. So it just does, to me, it was a good star power move. Like, you know, it's going to bring more seats. It's going to be more spectators. People are going to maybe want to watch the Atlanta Hawks a little bit more because they got a lethal backcourt. But ultimately, when it comes to overall team and what they can do at the end of the season come playoffs, no, they're going to do the same thing. At most, they're going to get to the second round and lose to one of these other teams in the Eastern Conference because the competition is crazy. But no, I 100% agree. That was a great take. Great take right there. All right, let's see what we got on the next one here.
Yeah, this Ron.
Ron, what's the deal?
The question was holding kids back in school in athletic advantage ethical. I believe so. You know, older. You know, then he going to college. I feel like he's more understanding, you know, what he needs to do because he got that mindset. I'm too old for this. You know what I'm saying? And another thing is, like, the body develops the older you get. So I think, like, you know, you get to your full potential. Like, versus, so, like, a kid graduated high school 16 years old versus a kid that graduated high school 18 years old. Obviously, that 18-year-old is going to be more, hopefully stronger, you know. Was supposedly supposed to be stronger and more mature and knowing how to use his body. But yeah, that's my take on that.
Okay. I ain't gonna lie. Look, I ain't gonna lie to you. I was distracted by the horn. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was a little distracted by the horn. But to sum it up, I get what you mean. You know, the maturity and then the maturity in a person, in an athlete's body as well makes a huge difference. And I agree. I agree, but only to an extent. And I say that because I agree with the aspect of, you know, the maturity level of, like, mentally and the kid not being ready. Sometimes, you know, everybody, especially guys, mature at way different ages than women. But I agree to that extent because even the body aspect, like, you know, they may be more mature in size and more mature just, you know, in knowing how to use their body. Especially in the sport they're playing. So I agree with that aspect, but also too, the counter argument to that of kind of what I was thinking about is, you know, it may hinder them in the long run because of the adversity. Like, they may not play to that level of adversity that they may face if they're playing down the competition. So now, okay, yeah, he's good in high school. Yeah, he might have been good in middle school, whatever the case was, but by the time he gets to college, that's that adversity that he's really going to face of people being better than him, of playing to people who's on his level of competition. And again, that's better than him. So, I think that's kind of tough. That is true. Obviously, it's two sides of it because, some people may think that, if you play over your competition, you'll get better. If you play under, you might. But I get what you mean. Ultimately, that was a great take, though. I get it. I like that one. But look, man, something else has been kind of bothering me outside of this topic here, because we've been told, we've been lied to. We're told all of these blockbuster deals. The blockbuster deals. Yes, the Atlanta Hawks got DeJounte Murray, John Wall to the Los Angeles Clippers. Like, these are blockbuster deals, apparently. No, they are not blockbuster deals. I know they're not blockbuster deals at all. Because let me tell you, man, a blockbuster type of deal is LeBron going to South Beach. That's a blockbuster deal. Kevin Durant going to Golden State. Kyrie and Kevin Durant teaming up in Brooklyn. Like, those are blockbuster deals. Not no damn DeJounte Murray going to play with Trae Young. And it's a good move. So don't get me wrong. John Wall to the Clippers, a good move. And obviously Bradley Beal still haven't signed anywhere. And I think that's going to be the only major difference in terms of a blockbuster deal. Because look, man, when you talk about blockbuster deals, you can't be throwing that word around if the team is still not going to be competing intensely for an NBA championship. Now, if they're a contender, a true contender for an NBA championship, then that's different. And when I say true contender, I mean able to beat the Bucks in 7 games, able to beat the Warriors in 7 games. That's what I mean by a true contender. But other than that, don't come to me talking about this was a blockbuster deal like they've been doing. Because to touch on John Wall, man, I think that's probably the closest thing we have right now in terms of a great deal that we've seen. But even then, it's still some issues or, some things to work out. Because, yeah, John Wall to the Clippers, great, obviously, but it's going to force Kawhi and Paul George to maybe play off ball a little bit, which I'm sure they have no problem doing, and which they prove they can do to an extent. But anyway, John Wall, he's still going to have to be quicker. We know what we're getting out of him. He was one of the fastest players in the league at one time. Hopefully he still has that speed. He has the ability to get others open, can distribute the ball, can get to the cup, and even can play defense. Hopefully he can still play as good defense as he was able to before the injuries. But it's going to come down to if they're in shape. Because this is part of the get hurt crew right here. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, these guys are always hurt. And we know with John Wall, he's been hurt for like the last 3 seasons. You telling me how they going to be good if he can't stay healthy? And I get it. I agree. In the last 2 seasons, he's played less than half of the 82 scheduled games. And then the season before that, he played exactly half of the 82 games that were on the schedule for the NBA. So I get it. And it's going to come down to the health. But obviously, it's even further than that, because you look at Kawhi Leonard and what he's going to be doing. Kawhi Leonard, we know we ain't getting 82 games out of him. You can count on one hand how many times Kawhi Leonard done played over 60 games in his 10-year career. And that tells it all right there. But yeah, so it's going to be nice. Yeah, they got personnel on paper and it looks good on paper. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the test and putting these guys to the test of how good they are when they're on the court together. If they can be healthy, if they can be consistent, if they mesh well when they play together. Because it looks nice. It looks nice on paper. Don't get me wrong. But truthfully, I'm going to be honest, man. I just, it's hard for me to see the Los Angeles Clippers holding up a championship trophy at the end of the season. It's hard for me to envision that in my mind. And Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, hell of a crew right there. And you add John Wall, hell of a crew on paper. But the experience going against these other teams, these other dogs who got even more of a well put together team, it kind of worries me. I ain't gonna lie to you. But anyway, man, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. We got Trae Young coming up in the Atlanta Hawks. We're going to touch on that just a little bit more to give a little bit of insight. But all right, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Hang tight. We'll be back. Now, you know, just because you're busy doesn't mean you got to be stressed. I'm crazy busy right there with you, but it can be easier. Next time you're on a run, just make it more fun and listen to The Run with Manny Wilson. It's The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
Let me get to it. That motivation music. Get control of your life. Don't let nobody else do it.
Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. The best sports podcast there is, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. Now, I know I mentioned Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks, but we're not going to touch on Trae Young too much, man. All we going to sum it up, all we're going to say about Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks with DeJounte Murray is that now Trae Young can play off ball. It allowed DeJounte Murray to splurge a little bit more, have his own type of freedom, score when he wants, all of that. But Trae Young can play off ball. But we're not going to touch on that too much, just for the fact that there's other big name free agents out here that are not really getting the attention. And obviously today on June 30th, these teams can start negotiating and players can start signing if they're free agents. But man, because there's so many other free agents that would make for a better deal and a more anticipated trade or more anticipating signing, that's what we're going to touch on really quick. So to give a few ideas of who's out there for free agents, we still got Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine can still possibly go somewhere. Bradley Beal, he's going to sign somewhere, obviously. DeAndre Ayton and Jalen Brunson. Those are probably the top names in this free agency right now. But to start with Zach LaVine, he's with the Bulls right now. Or he was with the Bulls last season. The Bulls are, again, at that tier 2 team. I would put them around there. They can beat you, but they're not quite going to win a championship, even if they have DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine at the same time. It's just not enough there for them to help. However, they do have something solid. But I must say, with the Chicago Bulls, they don't seem to want to intensely win a championship. And when I say that, I mean like aggressively coming to make trades and aggressively trying to make their team better and put themselves in a better position to build off of DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. I see a lot of subtleness and I see a lot of, ease and being okay and content with where they are in terms of making money. Of course, obviously this the Chicago Bulls, they're making a lot of money, but I see them making money. They're still satisfied with the ticket sales and the pricing and all of that, the fans coming to the games. So, they don't really have much motive to make their team better other than actually wanting to win a championship. And maybe Zach LaVine takes note of that and maybe he goes somewhere else. But if I had to pick a landing spot for Zach LaVine, this is where I would go. I would probably go all the way over to the Western Conference here, and I'd put him with the Denver Nuggets, just because the Denver Nuggets, they have a squad already. And you're going to have Jamal Murray coming back. But I feel that the Denver Nuggets are going to land someone. If not Bradley Beal, they'll probably get Zach LaVine. They have a squad over there. Jokic, he's already doing everything by himself. He's clearly proven that he can take his team only so far by himself, but he can hold it down, if it's just him in the game. So I think that would be a great landing spot. And then, honestly, I would go all the way over to the other side of the Western Conference in New Orleans. I think New Orleans would also be a potential good landing spot for Zach LaVine because they're building something solid over there. They're aggressive in terms of becoming a better franchise, a better team, a better organization. You look at CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, like Valanciunas. And then if you were to add another one of these players from this free agency pool, whether it was Bradley Beal, don't think he's going there, by the way, but more so Zach LaVine, that would be nice. That would be nice to add all of them there. I think that would be cool to have Zach LaVine in New Orleans as well. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the finances. And the team I would love to see Zach LaVine go to, the Milwaukee Bucks. Man, that would be nice to go play with Giannis Antetokounmpo. That would be amazing to see that. But obviously the financials, I think the Bucks would have to free up some cap space to even come close to paying them. But then again, it just depends on what's Zach LaVine's priority. If it's the paycheck, or if it's the winning. He's been in the league for some time now. He's lost in the league for some time now. So some players, they hit that pivotal point where it's like, no, I'm ready to win. Damn the paycheck. I get money all the time, whatever. Endorsements, they're all coming. But I ultimately want to win. So I think that'd be a cool thing for Zach LaVine out of those three options between the Denver Nuggets, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the New Orleans Pelicans. Obviously, the financials play a huge aspect in those, but I think those will be probably the best potential landing spots for him if he wants to win now and be on a good stage as well. But moving on, let's go to DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton. As much as I would love to have him in Detroit, as much as I would love to have this man in Detroit, I just don't think we have the financials to get him. If Troy Weaver somehow pulls DeAndre Ayton to Detroit after not really giving him a max, not being the most skilled team on the market right now or most experienced team on the market, then that would be something dangerous. But ultimately, I don't really think DeAndre Ayton is going to leave. I think he's happy being in Phoenix. They've come close to winning a championship on multiple occasions. They went on 2 deep playoff runs. So it's not really much motive for him to leave. The Suns just have to pay the man. And that's only if he's prioritizing that paycheck. But if not, then, hey, there are other teams. So let's touch on that. The other teams, I think he would possibly be good with playing for. Obviously, you could never go wrong. You could never, ever, ever go wrong playing for the Warriors. But they don't have the money to get them. But even the Memphis Grizzlies could possibly be a good landing spot for him. Adding that extra beef, going to play with Ja Morant. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be nice. And even better, the Miami Heat. If he was to go play with the Miami Heat, that would be another piece that could put the Miami Heat over edge, especially if my prediction of Bradley Beal signing with the Miami Heat comes true. That would be cool to watch. But other than those two teams, those would be the best fit teams I see him going to play with. But outside of that, I really don't think he's going to leave Phoenix. I think he's probably staying in Phoenix for the most part. That would be cool. And for Jalen Brunson, I think Jalen Brunson is probably on the same thing as DeAndre Ayton, not really looking to go play anywhere else. I'm happy where he is. The Dallas Mavericks are a solid organization. I would want to play for the Dallas Mavericks just because the organization is very well organized. They're very well mannered. I put it that way. Playing with Luka, him and Luka has clearly proven that they can be something in the future. So keep those guys together. But if he had to go to another team, I wouldn't put it past anyone for him to go play with the Bucks. I wouldn't put it past anyone for him to go play with possibly the Lakers. I just hate mentioning the Lakers in terms of any free agency deals, but I think he'd be a good fit with either of those teams. Obviously the financials again. But anyway, man, no, I appreciate you hanging with me today. I appreciate it. And again, you can always give us a call anytime to leave a voicemail. Let us know what we're doing. You can always hate if you want to. You can leave a compliment. You can talk trash. You can do whatever you want, man. Just give us a call, 219-413-9405. But anyway, we'll be back next week on Thursday, and so on and so on and so on.